when survival mode becomes your identity, and why softness is the revolution. You know that moment when you realize you've been holding your breath for 20 years? I recently had the honor of sitting down with Sherry Ephraim, an African American woman in her 50s who's doing something extraordinary, something that's changing the conversation around what it means to truly live with purpose. Sherry isn't just launching a business, she's dismantling decades of conditioning. She's showing us what it looks like when a woman finally stops performing strength and starts embodying peace. She's teaching us that the most revolutionary thing you can do in a world that demands your constant productivity is to choose alignment over applause. In her story, her courage, her willingness to walk away from corporate security to return to entrepreneurship is making the world better because it's giving permission to thousands of women who've been waiting for someone to say it's okay to put the cape down. Before you roll your eyes and think, oh, great, another follow your passion speech, let me tell you why Sherry's story matters, especially if you're a Black woman who spent decades being everyone's backbone while your own spine was quietly cracking under the weight. Sherry lost both her parents when she was 29, an age when most of us are still figuring out how to adult. And she's bearing the two people who brought her into this world. In her grief, she did what so many of us do when life shatters us into a thousand pieces. She found safety. She sold her business and walked into corporate America because it felt structured and predictable. And most importantly, it didn't require her to feel anything she wasn't ready to feel. And here's the thing nobody tells you about survival mode. It works so well that you forget you're in it. You build a career, you succeed, you thrive even. You pour into others, you lead teams, you show up, you deliver. And somewhere along the way, survival stops being a temporary strategy and becomes your entire identity. You become so good at surviving that you forget what it feels like to actually live. But that entrepreneurial fire, the one that made Sherry start a business in the first place, it never died. It just flickered quietly beneath the surface, like a pilot light waiting for someone to turn the gas back on. And here's what's beautiful about fire: it doesn't care how long you've ignored it, it just waits, patient, persistent, ready. Fast forward decades. Sherry's done the work, the internal work, the kind that doesn't come with a certificate or a LinkedIn endorsement, the kind that happens in the quiet moments when you finally stop running and start reckoning. She's healed. She's restored her relationship with God. She's released the need for external validation, which, let's be honest, is the hardest breakup any of us will ever go through. And with that healing came something she hadn't felt in years: direction, confidence, courage, clarity. So now in her 50s, with wisdom that can only come from walking through fire and deciding to build a garden on the other side, Sherry's launching Scale Up Advisory Group, not from fear, not from escape, from alignment, from purpose, from a place so grounded in peace that it feels like coming home. And this is where I want to pause and talk about what alignment actually means, because we throw that word around like it's a yoga pose or a Pinterest quote. Alignment, real alignment, is when your insides finally match your outsides. It's when you stop performing strength and start embodying peace. It's when you realize that the cape you've been wearing isn't a symbol of power. It's a costume you put on because the world told you that's what strong Black women do. We wear capes, we carry communities, we hold down households, we lead teams, we raise families, we show up even when we're running on fumes and prayers. And we do it without complaint because complaining means you're weak. And weakness is not an option when you're a Black woman in America. Weakness gets you labeled. Weakness gets you dismissed. Weakness gets you replaced. Except here's the truth nobody wants to say out loud: that cape is heavy and it's choking you. It's cutting off your air supply. It's making you believe that your value is tied to how much you can endure, how much you can carry, how much you can sacrifice without breaking. But what happens when you do break? What happens when the weight becomes too much and you finally collapse under the pressure of being everyone's savior? Sherry's story isn't just about entrepreneurship. It's about what happens when you finally give yourself permission to put the cape down. It's about redefining strength, not as the ability to endure everything, but as the courage to say, I don't have to carry this anymore. I don't have to prove my worth, through suffering. I don't have to earn rest by first burning out. Because let's talk about what survival mode actually costs us. It costs us joy. It costs us rest. It costs us the ability to hear our own voice because we've spent so long listening to everyone else's needs that we've forgotten we have needs too. It costs us softness. It costs us the ability to be vulnerable, to be human, to be anything other than strong. And I know what you're thinking. Softness in this economy, in this world. Softness sounds like a luxury I can't afford. Softness sounds like something white women get to do while I'm over here holding down three jobs and raising kids and taking care of aging parents and leading a team at work. But what if I told you that softness isn't weakness? What if softness is actually the most radical thing you could do? What if choosing rest over hustle, boundaries over people pleasing, and peace over productivity is the revolution we've been waiting for? What if the reason you're so exhausted isn't because you're not doing enough, but because you're doing too much of what doesn't serve you and not enough of what does? This is what the soft girl era is really about. It's not about aesthetics or trends or some Instagram fantasy where you're lounging in silk pajamas, drinking green smoothies while someone else pays your bills. It's about a spiritual, emotional, and mental recalibration. It's about high achieving Black women, especially those between 38 and 55 who've spent years, decades even in survival mode, finally saying, I'm tired and I'm ready to shift from constantly grinding to finally grounding in joy, in peace, in softness, in self prioritization. It's about dropping the superwoman cape and realizing that softness is not weakness. It's a radical act of self love. It's you saying, I matter, my peace matters, my joy matters, and I'm not going to apologize for protecting it. Sherry's journey back to entrepreneurship is a perfect example of this. She didn't return to business because she hated corporate America or because she needed to prove something. She returned because she'd finally healed enough to hear the calling that had been inside her all along. She returned from a place of alignment, not desperation. She returned because she was ready, not because she was running. And that's the difference. When you build from survival, you're always running from something, running from pain, running from fear, running from the feeling that if you stop moving, you'll fall apart. When you build from alignment, you're running toward something, toward purpose, toward peace, toward the woman God always intended you to be. But getting to that place of alignment requires something most of us are terrible at: boundaries. Oh, boundaries. The word that makes people clutch their pearls and accuse you of being selfish. The word that gets you labeled as difficult or cold or not a team player. Learning to say no without guilt is one of the hardest lessons we'll ever learn, especially as Black women who've been conditioned to believe that our value is tied to how much we can give, how much we can endure, how much we can sacrifice. We've been taught that saying no is selfish, that putting ourselves first is wrong, that rest is something we have to earn by first exhausting ourselves. But here's what I've learned and what Sherry's story reinforces: You can't pour from an empty cup. And if you keep saying yes to everyone else, you're saying no to yourself. You're saying no to your dreams, your peace, your purpose, your soft girl era. You're saying no to the woman you're becoming in favor of the woman everyone else needs you to be. Saying no isn't selfish, it's sacred. It's you guarding your energy so you have something left for the things and people that actually matter. It's you recognizing that rest isn't something you earn after you've burned out, it's something you practice so you don't burn out in the first place. And let's talk about rest for a second because rest is not laziness. Rest is resistance in a culture that glorifies hustle and tells us our worth is tied to our productivity. Choosing to rest is an act of defiance. It's you saying, I am valuable even when I'm not producing. I am worthy even when I'm not performing. I am enough even when I'm doing absolutely nothing. Sherry rested. She took decades to heal, to process her grief, to strengthen her relationship with God, to do the internal work that doesn't come with applause or recognition. And because she rested, because she healed, she's now able to build something sustainable, something aligned, something that honors both her calling and her peace. This is what healing in real time looks like. It's messy, it's not linear, it doesn't happen on anyone's timeline but your own. And it requires you to tend to wounds that society tells you to just get over. Society tells you to move on, to be strong, to keep it together. But healing requires you to fall apart first, to sit with your pain instead of running from it, to allow yourself to grieve, to feel, to process. And when you do the work, when you actually sit with your pain instead of numbing it or avoiding it or pretending it doesn't exist, something shifts. You stop building your life around avoiding pain and start building it around pursuing purpose. You stop performing and start becoming. Purpose, real purpose, isn't about what looks good on paper or what makes other people comfortable. It's about what makes you come alive. It's about honoring the fire that's been flickering inside you, even when the world tried to blow it out, even when people told you to be realistic, even when fear told you to stay safe. For Sherry, that fire was entrepreneurship. For you, it might be something completely different, but whatever it is, it's been waiting, waiting for you to heal enough to hear it, waiting for you to rest enough to have the energy to pursue it, waiting for you to set enough boundaries to protect it. Because here's the thing about purpose, it doesn't go away just because you ignore it. It just gets quieter. And the longer you ignore it, the louder the dissonance becomes between who you are and who you're pretending to be. That dissonance shows up as anxiety, as depression, as chronic exhaustion, as the feeling that something's missing, even though on paper your life looks perfect. Sherry spent decades in that dissonance, successful on the outside, but knowing deep down that there was something more. And the beautiful thing about her story is that she didn't wait until she had it all figured out. She didn't wait until the conditions were perfect. She just waited until she was aligned, until her insides matched her outsides, until the woman she was becoming finally looked like the woman God always intended her to be. So here's the invitation, not to quit your job tomorrow or blow up your life, but to ask yourself honestly, am I building from survival or from alignment? Am I wearing a cape because I want to or because I think I have to? Am I saying yes because it serves me or because I'm afraid of disappointing someone else? Am I running towards something or just running away from pain? These are not easy questions, but they're necessary ones because the truth is you can't step into your soft girl era while you're still in survival mode. You can't embrace rest while you're still glorifying hustle. You can't protect your peace while you're still saying yes to everything and everyone except yourself. Sherry's story is proof that it's never too late, that healing is possible, that you can return to the dreams you paused, that your 50s or 40s or 60s can be the beginning of something, not the end, that the woman you're becoming is worth the discomfort of letting go of who you've been. So here's what I want you to take with you today: softness is not weakness, boundaries are not selfish, rest is not laziness, and returning to yourself, to your purpose, to your peace is not indulgent, it's sacred, it's necessary, it's the revolution. You don't have to keep wearing the cape, you don't have to keep running on empty, you don't have to keep proving your worth through productivity. You are already enough, already worthy, already deserving of the joy, the rest, the softness, and the freedom you've been denying yourself. And maybe, just maybe, it's time to stop surviving and start living, not from a place of fear or escape, but from a place of alignment, from a place of purpose, from a place of power. So here's my challenge to you: walk out of here today and do one thing, just one thing that honors your softness. Say no to something that drains you. Rest without guilt. Set a boundary without apology. Listen to that quiet voice inside you that's been waiting for you to pay attention. Honor the fire that's been flickering. Choose alignment over applause. Choose peace over performance. Choose yourself, because the world didn't teach you survival so you could stay there forever. It taught you survival so you'd know how strong you are when you finally choose softness instead. Welcome to your soft girl era. Now go live it.